Hi everybody, I'm Rabbi Chernitsky, Director of Chabad Newfoundland. Pleasure to be back with you. This is the weekly Wednesday nights Torah Parsha class discussion. We haven't met the past few weeks. My apologies, has to do with my schedule, but God willing, we'll continue rocking Wednesday nights. We try to start the class 8 p.m. Newfoundland time, 6:30 Eastern. Here we are, Shavuot. Shavuos is coming up. That's next week. So this Sunday night, June the 1st, is the first night of Shavuot. That's when we celebrate historically how the Jews got the Torah. That's when God said the Ten Commandments to the Jewish people. Very special time, very happy time. Many unique customs. We eat dairy foods, cheesecake, ice cream, and so on and so forth. Why? For another time. Now we're going to have a bit of a shorter class. We're going to focus on one specific point about Shavuot. We are not going to be speaking about the Parsha of the week. The Parsha of the week is Bamidbar, which means in the desert. We start the book of Numbers in English. There, one of the calculations we have in our calendar that determines which parshas are read together. Like last week, we had Behar and Bechukai together. For example, one of those calculations, one of those factors is that we always have to read this upcoming parsha of Bamidbar before Shavuot. And this is exactly what happens. We have this Shabbos Bamidbar, then comes Shavuot, and then we move on to Behar Loischa. God willing, we'll try to speak about the next week. But Midrash in May, we're going to start with a very fundamental question, and the fundamental question is that were the Jewish people really chosen? We're known as the chosen nation, the chosen people. Yet, if we look into traditional Jewish teachings, quoted by Rashi quotes the Medrash, that says that when God gave the Jewish people the Torah, first, he offered it to the other nations, and for different reasons, each one did not want it. The Ishmaelites didn't want it. The descendants of Esau didn't want it. Why didn't they want it? Because the different things that they really enjoy, they're identified with, are forbidden by the Torah, and they said, no, thank you. Finally, God came to the Jews and they accepted it, and they said, we'll do and we'll listen. We don't really have to hear what it says. We sign the contract first, then we read it. Why? It comes from God. We trust God. So based on this medrash, we say, well, clearly the Jewish people were not chosen. They were the last choice. Process of elimination. Nobody wanted it. Jewish people were the last one standing. So are we chosen or not? This, which shakes the foundation upon which we've been standing for the last 3,000 years, it's something that the great Torah sages address. Rabbi Yonasan Eifshitz, the great rabbi who lived roughly 300 years ago, the Chasam Sofer, Rabbi Moshe Sofer, lived roughly 100 years ago, a little bit more, 150 years ago. They'll bring this up. The thing is that in the morning, every single morning, we make a blessing. One of the blessings on the Torah we say every day for ourselves before we could study Torah is Asher Bachar Ban Mikol Ha'amim, that God chose us from all the nations. This is also the blessing that's made when a person gets an aliyah. A person gets called up to the Torah before the Torah reading. Every single person who gets called up for an aliyah makes this blessing, Asher Bachar Ban Mikol Ha'amim, Hashem chose us from all the nations. In fact, this is one of the few blessings that actually is biblical. The other only biblical blessing is the blessing after eating bread, the Birkat Hamazon, benching. All the other blessings before eating, after eating are rabbinic. The only blessing before doing something that's the Inaisa, that's of biblical origin, is the blessing on studying Torah. And this very one out of the three blessings that we say every morning on studying Torah, this one, Asher Bachar Ban Mikol Ha'amim, that God chose us from all the nations, the only one that's biblical. So, very significant, makes our question stronger. Okay. So we said God, Hashem offered Torah to others. They didn't want it. He gave it to us. So then how do we say that we were chosen? We see though that our relationship with Hashem started way before the Torah was given. Already Moses tells the Jewish people before the Exodus that we are going to go out. God's going to take us out with great miracles, with great wonders, and we're going to go and serve God on that mountain, on Mount Sinai. So we asked this question. So why would Hashem, just before giving us the Torah, go around offering it to the other nations? Imagine you're at a wedding and the groom goes around looking for a different wife. The chuppah is set up, everybody's ready, everybody's dressed up, the torches, the candles are lit, but the groom is going around looking for another wife. It would be absurd. So what's going on here? We must say, of course, there's no question of God chose us. Yeah. As we prove from the blessing that we make, God chose us from all the nations. Jewish teachings are full of this idea, these words. And what we need to understand is what happened by the giving of the Torah. I'm skipping here a little bit. Now, what we're going to get to when we speak about why would Hashem offer the Torah to the other nations has to do with our unique standing in the world today. Not unique because of what's happening in Israel, but unique as far as the last 50, 60, 70 years, which are unique in our history, because it's the first time that we have the ability to influence our neighbors who are not Jewish to observe the 7 laws of Noah, Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach, the Noahide laws. Very simple, right? Not to commit murder, not to commit adultery, not to worship idolatry, to believe in the one Hashem, to establish courts of law, not to eat from a limb of a living animal, not to steal. And throughout our history, we never had a chance to do so because we were always persecuted. We were under the control of foreign nations. We never had this ability like today. This is something that the Lubavitcher spoke of very much. And this is something that's brought down in the Talmud, quoted by Maimonides, but never, as in today, do we have the opportunity to actually fulfill it without negative repercussions. And that is one of the explanations. On this medrash, that why would Hashem go around offering the Torah to different nations? The answer is that God wanted that the nations should have a connection to the Torah. It was never a question who will get the Torah. It was never a question who are the chosen people. It's the Jewish people who were the chosen people. The Jewish people are going to get the Torah. The thing was that God wanted all of the nations of the world to have a connection, in Hebrew, a shaychus, a relevance to the Torah, so that they could also be empowered to keep the 7 Noahide laws. That is why, if you remember, we had a class in this last year, on the Parsha of Eschanan, when the 10 commandments are repeated again in the book of Deuteronomy. First time we read about them is in the book of Exodus, the Parsha of Israel. Again, we read about them. This is the second time in Deuteronomy, the Parsha of Eschanan. There's a few changes, slight differences between them. And the famous commentator, the Kli Yakar, who lived 500 years ago, speaks about this, says, why are there these differences? And he says that one, the first set were intended for the entire world. Number two, the second time we read about them, those are just for the Jewish people. And again, this is the same idea that everyone, regardless of their background, has connection to the Torah. For the Jewish people, it's the 613 commandments, biblical commandments. They have a deeper connection. But the whole world is connected to the Torah. That's why God offered it to all the nations. And that's why they are commanded and therefore empowered to fulfill, to keep, to do the 7 Noahide laws. The Chasam Sofer gives a beautiful allegory for this. And with this, he explains how really God already chose the Jewish people from the times of Abraham, when God took Abraham out of Ur Kasdim, where when he was born, the family was living, and how it was all a preparation for the giving of the Torah, when that choice in the Jewish people came to a culminating point. So the allegory, he says, is that a king had 3 sons. King was very wealthy, had a lot of gold mines, and the king wanted his youngest son to be the heir, inherit the riches, because he was the smartest, the most skilled, the most business savvy. Yet he couldn't just skip over the first 2 sons. It's going to be a revolt, a scandal. So what did he do? The king trained the youngest son, the 3rd son, for a test that he gave all of the children. Later on, he taught him what gold looks like, what do you have to do with gold, the tools needed to refine it, the tool needed to mine it out of the ground. And then we tested everybody. The one that was able to pass the test was this child, the 3rd that had been prepared all along. That's what the Chasam Sofer says. This is what happened to the Jewish people. It was never a question who would get it. It was only a question of who. It was only a matter of when it would come to light. It was going to be the Jewish people, and it only came to light in the times when God gave the Torah. There, I'm skipping here some of the notes. And the last point that I wanted to make is connected with the fact that our observance, our connection, our dedication to the Torah is something that's beyond logic. It defeats logic. How far we are willing to go, the Jewish people are willing to go to keep the Torah and not, God forbid, transgress. Bilam, the wicked prophet who was not Jewish, spoke about the Parsha of Balak. It's coming up in a few weeks, very soon. He says he wants to die, Moisés Shorim. He would like to die the death of the righteous Jewish people. Obvious question is, why is he asking to die like the righteous Jewish people, as to live like a Jew if it's so great? The answer is no. He could not fathom living like a Jew, living with the 613 biblical commandments plus the 7 rabbinic edicts and decrees. He said, how can a person live? We all have temptations, inclinations. How can you live with so much abstinence? How can you live with such self-control? Yet, this is what's asked from each and every one of us, the Jewish people. That if I ate something dairy, I can't eat meat right away. If I ate meat, I can't eat dairy right away. There was a lady who was committed to lose 150 pounds. That's a lot of weight to lose. She hired a very sought after dietitian, instructor, coach. And the coach said, listen, it's doable. You can have to work very hard. You can make a lot of changes. There's one condition here for us to work together. It's going to get hard, and you're going to want to break your diet. The condition is you do not break your diet before you give me a call. Okay, it's a deal. So 2 years go by. Ladies in the diet, she's doing terrific, losing a lot of weight. Until before Shavuos of the second year, after the second year. Why? In her community, she got the job of driving around, picking up all of the different dairy foods that everybody made for the shul, for the synagogue. She's picking up all these delicious desserts and cheesecakes and blintzes, all these types of stuff. And as a volunteer driving around, she cannot resist the smells. I'm sure some people here are picturing in their minds just from me speaking about it. So the lady calls the coach and says, listen, it's been 2 years. I can't. It's just too tempting. And the coach says, I understand, but you could use your mind to control your impulse. Be strong. Don't break the diet. Don't give up. The lady hangs up. She wants to hear none of that. She has an idea. Stops by a kosher supermarket. Buys a ready-to-eat hot dog. Makes a blessing. Takes a bite. And she's covered. Now she ate meat. And she can't eat dairy. As strong as the temptation is, she will not break Jewish law. She will not eat dairy after having meat. Traditionally, we wait 6 hours in between. And that's how she solved the issue. So we had a short class today. Were the Jewish people chosen? Yes or no? The answer was yes. God offered the Torah to all of the nations of the world, so they should have a connection to the Torah and be empowered to keep the 7 Noahide laws that are universal for everybody. God chose the Jewish people to do the 613 biblical commandments, and the connection we have with Hashem is very special. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Traditionally, we wish each other Kabbalas HaTorah B'Simcha B'Pnimius. This is what we wish each other in Chabad, that we should receive the Torah B'Simcha, with joy, and with Pnimius, it should be inside. It shouldn't just be an external thing, shallow. It should reach our insides. When we learn Torah with joy, it becomes part of us. That's what we want. Today was Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the first day of the Hebrew month of Sivan, which is very special. This is the day when the Jewish people got to Mount Sinai that first time after leaving Egypt. And this day, the Jewish people encamped Keish Echad Belev Echad, like one man with one heart, with complete unity. It's a day to work on our unity, or a day to work on Avas Yisrael, love for our fellow Jew. Tonight is Beis Sivan, the second day of the Hebrew month of Sivan. Second day of Sivan is super special. This is the day that God said to Jewish people, "Ve'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim ve'kadosh," will be for me a nation of literally priests or ministers and a holy nation. This is the day that we became the chosen nation, based Sivan, also known as Yom HaMeyuchas, the day of our yichus, the day of our lineage. Very, very special. Cherish your lineage, celebrate your lineage, do another mitzvah. Chag Sameach with Yom Tov. Catch you guys next week.